I am going to prison. That's what my buddy Bo Eason was thinking after he had blown his knee out playing football for the last time at the bottom of a pile, and he's being carried off the field. And you can even, you Google the Bo Eason injury. If you look at the dude, you can see this. His thoughts are a million miles away, right? He is already thinking about what's going to happen to him in the future. And he's thinking, I'm going to prison because I've got all this TNT inside of me. For 20 years, it's everything about my life has been putting my head into the chest of other men so hard that when I hit them, I smell smoke. That's how he would describe his life as a free safety. And think about that. Everything this guy has done up until that point, right, has been about hitting people. And now he's just out in the world, right? What, go work at Home Depot? You know, that's the same place so many of our veterans, including me, find ourselves after we get out of the military, or as we're getting out, we're thinking, how in the hell do I translate what I did in Afghanistan, walking down bad guys and putting scalps on the barn, to, I don't know, corporate leadership, right? I mean, and that's what Bo was talking about. And as he was talking, he was so passionate, he was so physical about it. I couldn't look away. And I thought, that's what I want to do next. The same way that when I saw Mark, the Green Beret, walk into the soda shop when I was 14, I looked and I said, that is me. You ever do that? Have you ever seen that in your life and you're like, that's me? Well, same thing here. Wes, who did you do that with music?
Jeff Beck.
Jeff Beck, right? He knew, that's me. So when I saw Bo speaking like that, I knew I needed to be on stages and I needed to be in front of people training after I left the military. And that was the coolest thing. It scared the hell out of me because I had no idea how to do that, but to just know that I was looking at someone who represented what I wanted to be with my life. At 44 years old, there was still something next. That is the absolute same for you, I am sure, right? But we've got to take the time to do this. This month, we're talking about deep work. That's our monthly theme at Rooftop Leadership, the deep work necessary to fulfill on the tracks and goals that you have established for the year 2018. None of this resolution BS. We're going to do the deep work necessary to fulfill on things that you've established that you want to toast in 2018. Now, what does that mean to you? My promise to you is this: if you do this kind of work as a rooftop leader, I'm not promising you fame, I'm not promising you wealth or status that may or may not come as the result of this kind of work. What I am promising you is that you will do the work you were put on this earth to do. You will have a life you don't have to vacation from, and you will be surrounded by people you respect. How's that sound? Right? So if it resonates with you that maybe at night when you're laying in bed and you feel like you should be doing more, or you feel like you should be creating a movement of some kind, talking to my veteran brothers and sisters out there and also folks who are just working the day-to-day job, do you feel like there's something you should be creating or leading? Do you feel like you want to be more relevant when you're in a room with people? Do you feel like you are the type of person who can lead people even when they don't want to follow, but you're not quite sure how to pull that off? Or you just want to leave deeper tracks in the world that are here after you're gone? Any of those things is what I'm talking about, right? And so a book that can really help you do this, I'm a voracious reader. I'm all about ingesting information that helps us do deep work. You know, last week I talked about deliberate practice, and one of the things that Anderson talks about in his book, Peak, is that we find coaches who've been to the mountain, who've done and broken through the thresholds. We take that coaching, we put it into play quickly, and then we adjust. Well, Daniel Coyle is just one of those kinds of coaches, and the good news is you don't even have to hire this guy. Just buy his book, He's got the book, The Talent Code, and this one is the Little Book of Talent. Even more useful, I think, because it's handy to carry, it's easy to reference. 52 tips for high performance that Daniel Coyle wrote about, that studying talent hotbeds around the world, right? The track runners from Jamaica, the female golfers from South Korea. What is it that they do in high performance that allows them to achieve things bigger than themselves, right? As much as I talk about the Little Book of Talent, you guys may think that like I'm getting a cut from Daniel Coyle. Promise I'm not. I'm just a fan of the book and the substance that it provides you as a rooftop leader. So one of the things that Coyle talks about in his book, it's actually tip number 1 that speaks directly to high performance, because that's what we're talking about this week. The theme is high performance, right? The monthly theme is deep work, but this week it's high performance. What do you need to do to perform at the level you want to do to achieve those deep tracks? Tip number 1, stare at who you want to become. Just what I led off with. If you were to visit a dozen talent hotbeds tomorrow, you would be struck by how much time the learners spend observing top performers. Now listen to this. When I say observing, I'm not talking about passively watching like so many of us do on our cell phones and just, watching people go by. I'm talking about staring. The kind of raw, unblinking, intensely absorbed gazes you see in hungry cats or newborn babies. That's how I was staring at that Green Beret that day when I was 14. That's how Wes was staring at Jeff Beck. That's how I was staring at Bo Eason. And I will tell you, it is transformative, right? You got to be careful, not in a creepy predator kind of way, but in a learning kind of way, that using it as a windshield, it's powerful, powerful stuff. A few more tips on this. So how I did it with Bo was I went to his workshops. I joined his mastermind. I listened to his audio tapes. I talked with him personally, and you'll be surprised the number of high performers, if you have a dream in your life that's bigger than you, will actually sit down and spend time with you on your dream. Stephen Pressfield wrote the foreword of my book. And I could go on and on with people who have, Sebastian Younger came on my podcast, the author of Tribe and The Perfect Storm, to talk about veterans coming home. So talk to that person that you're staring at to become and become better than, and a lot of times they'll help you if the dream is bigger than you are. And then finally, do nightly imprints, right? Every night before I go to bed, I'll watch a YouTube video with Bo or Tony Robbins or someone who I'm really trying to learn from, and I will imprint that on my brain before I go to bed. And it actually works. You do that 45 days or so, and you really start to absorb, and you learn faster, you accelerate your performance, and it makes deliberate practice really easy to dissect where you are, what you're doing, where you're falling short, and continue to stay in that comfort zone, uncomfortable zone that you need to be in for practice. Don't forget that unblinking stare. Man, that is probably through a windshield, like a cat or a newborn baby stares at someone walking by when they're trying to learn how to walk. That's what I'm talking about here. And if you'll do this, it really works. In the book that Coyle wrote, he talks about 5th Special Forces Group actually went to General Electric. They sent their officers and senior non-commissioned officers to General Electric, and they followed around these executives for over a couple of weeks, I think, and then they went back to Special Forces, and they had learned so much just by observing these executives in a high-stakes corporate environment. So you can apply this at any kind of level. Figure out who you want to surpass. I say you don't want to become them, you want to surpass them, right? Bo Eason knows I'm coming. I'm running as hard as I can to be better than him. He expects that of me. Mark Harrell knew I wanted to be a Green Beret, but better than him, right? So that I can carry the torch beyond their time. So pick who that is in your life, right? And then stare and study and integrate that into your deliberate practice, into your deep work. This is what pros do. This is what high performers do. This is what rooftop leaders do. Lean in, do the work. I'll see you on the rooftop.